Okay, so I'm going to explain you what we have started 2 years ago in the TC CERN 468. It's a technical committee created to work on the preservation, digital preservation. The first work we have made is based on a technical report in the WG1 group. The technical report is a technical report for mapping all the standards used by different countries, European countries, and try to understand what are the major specifications, organizational and technical specifications that are used in those standards, and what are the gaps that we can find between all those standards. So first of all, I have to explain you what is the TC 468 Preservation of Digital Information. It's a European Standardization Technical Committee on preservation of digital information. And it has been created in 2020 in December, and we start to work in May 2021. I'm going to go very quickly because I know we have time to gain. So the scope of the TC 468 is the standardization of the functional and technical aspects of the preservation of digital information. So you are probably asking why we are working on that, because it's already in a lot of countries, but we need to understand how all the countries works and how we can work together. A 360 approach of the sector and market of information preservation in Europe, with a focus on governance and risk and compliance. Of course, ensure a higher level on electronic evidence and information integrity in data space in Europe. I hope the words are good, because sometimes in our discussion, we discuss about the words. Sometimes we speak about electronic archiving, digital preservation, and so on. So we can see here that one of the major work we have to do now is to work on vocabulary, and we are going to do that in a few times. Of course, we want to provide interoperability and portability between existing solutions and services using data exchange protocol to allow data sharing and distribution. There are a lot of protocols defined. We have to understand where are those protocols, what are they doing, and how can we take the best of those protocols for all the European countries to be able to share information or to change from one service provider to another, or other things like that. And we need to provide guidance on important challenges with regards to compliance with the European legal and regulation. Next is the scope of our preservation of digital information technical committee. The scope is to work on standardization of the functional and technical aspect of the preservation of digital information, and to develop a structured set of standards. So you say standards, but we have a lot already. No, the idea is not to do a new standard, but to understand what are the gaps between the different standards and maybe focus on that gap to work on something new and useful for us. So we have to work on specification and reports addressing business requirements, including the compliance with the GDPR and eIDAS. Oh, that was already, sorry. So we have to identify existing activity and standards in use with the European market, with the national or international deliverables in mapping. The mapping idea is to ask each country what are the standards they use for preservation, digital preservation, why do they use that kind of standard, and what are the main axes used in those standards. Then with that works made by each European country. We create a table, a big table, where each country can explain in which text we can find a subject or an example of subject that they use, and we will see that a little bit later. So we have to define a common vocabulary for the sector and its multiple concept, because of course we use a lot of vocabulary, and we need to be sure that when we speak about digital preservation, we speak about the same concept. So we need to complete suitable standards, and I say to complete suitable standard and technical specification by developing European standards in area including preservation, integrity, sustainability, it's important now, and security. You know that one of the major projects for Europe tomorrow is sustainability. It started in the European Commission a few days ago, and it's a very important subject. So we are going to try to find how we can create services or how we can create standards that are sustainable. We want to develop relationship with key stakeholders, including the European Commission and, of course, the E-ARK initiative. Okay, I'm going to explain now what is made in the working group 1 of the TCCN 468. A lot of people here are working directly in that working group. This working group has been created 10 months ago, and we have started working on the tier mapping 10 months ago, and the work is finalized actually. It will be published in a few weeks. That works map functional, technical, and organizational aspect in a mapping table based on axis, and in the axis on subject, example of topics. Each axis defined by a combination of 4 models. We have worked on 4 main models: OIS, of course, ISO 16363, ETSI standard from ESI, ETSI technical specification as well, and eArchiving reference architecture. That was a suggestion made by members because a lot of work has been made on that eArchiving reference architecture, and it's a very good model to give much more topics that we can imagine in other standards. So the mapping, the technical report mapping contents is based on the explanation of the 4 general models, stakeholders and motivation, why we have done that work. Then we have a pre-ingest axis and a topic list. It's a set of example of topics for ingest. Ingest axis, preservation planning axis, archival storage axis, data management axis, administration axis, access axis, drivers and goals axis, very important axis, and the strategic axis and topic list. You can see here that there are subjects coming directly from the eArchiving reference architecture. So the next part of the tier is a summary table of recommended standards on electronic archiving and preservation by countries. Here are some of the countries that have participated and that have contributed to the technical report. You have Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Slovenia, and Spain. Of course, if you are from another country, it's not too late. If you want to participate to that technical report, you can just connect to the CEN TC468WG1 group, and we will make a revision in a few months, including your participation for your country. That's an example for Spain. Thank you for Spain. That's normal. They invite us. So that's the table for Spain. So each country has a table, and in each table, you have the description of the regulation and standard used by the country. And you have some more explanation. So it's about 2 pages for each country where you have explanation specifically to each country. And then we have, in the last part of the document, a mapping table for each country and all axes and topics examples defined in the technical reports. You can see here just an example on the definition of the data management system. That's an axis. And you can see discovery metadata association with AIP, descriptive information. That's topics in this axis. And you can see that for different countries, some countries add some specification based on national standards, sometimes on international standards. And the idea is to be able to understand where we can find an information when we speak about, for example, discovery metadata. You can go, for example, in the German text Trezor F, and you will find information in that. You can go in the Spanish regulation standard NTI-POL UNE ISO 1617512, and so on. So you have a big table about maybe 20 pages with the different axes and the different text that you can find for each country that has contributed to that work. So the mapping model used is OAIS, of course, for ingest, access, preservation, planning, data management, archival storage, and we have directly extract part of that standard to explain axis that has been added to the tier mapping. The second second model we used was ISO 16363 to define topics based on organizational infrastructure. So we have directly integrated some parts of that standard to explain organizational features. Also, we have used the same standard to define topics based on infrastructure and security risk management with technical infrastructure risk management and security risk management based on ISO 16363. And we have used also the ETSI specification 019510 to explain what a specific use case is based on augmentation capability of signature based in an OAIS model where we can see that there is a specificity for preservation of signed documents or unsigned documents using signed technology. So that was important to include that also. It's a little bit technical, but it's important not to forget that it's one way to preserve signed documents. And of course, we have integrated eArchiving reference architecture, the business layer, because in this business layer, you have a lot of use cases that are very useful to define topics in the different axes. When you go directly on the website of the eArchiving reference architecture, you can go on explanation on each use cases. So we have used eArchiving reference architecture to define, to give explanation. We have extract part of text from that website with the authorization of the DLM forum. And we have added those explanations to explain the topics that you can find in the different axes, important business part. Of course, one thing which was very, very important that we didn't have at the beginning of the work was the motivation. And there is a very good works done in the eArchiving reference architecture that is based on drivers and goals. Why do we have to work on preservation? Is it for long-term access to information? Is it for sustainability, economic sustainability? Is it a driver? So that is all the drivers that are suggested in this document that we have added as an axis directly. So it's possible to understand that some standards are already able to speak about some drivers and goals, and some standards don't worry about that. And we can see that with those axes, we have some new motivation to work on in our standards. 3 more minutes. E-ARchiving reference architecture strategy also has been added because we have to understand when we can consider that we have an archive in the workflow when a record in a record management become an archive for long-term preservation and so on. So we have added this axis also. And that is an example of one page of the technical report. You can see the data management axis and topic list. We find the OIS model definition, and after that we find the e-archiving reference architecture with different points coming directly from the e-archiving reference architecture and definitions coming from this very good document also. So all the documents contain those points to be able to understand what are the different subjects that are based in the table, and then you can just say, okay, for my standard in France, for example, if I want to add element or update of metadata associated justification, I can understand what is about because there is a definition coming from the e-archiving reference architecture, and I can just explain that you can find that in the French standard, for example, NFZ 42013, at paragraph 10, that is speaking about that. And for another subject, I will constate that the French standard has nothing about that, and we need maybe to find that somewhere else, maybe in another standard, or we need to create a standard because there is no standard yet about green sustainability on preservation, for example, on digital preservation. But for example, using offline media or nearline media instead of putting all information on online media could be very sustainable or something like that. So thank you and congratulations to each country for this consensual work. We have started 10 months ago. It's finalized in this month after 15 version. Thank you for contribution from all those countries. I see Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Carlota. Thank you for Jose. Thank you for thank you, Jose. Thank you for all, because it was a very short work, but very efficiency. And now the idea is to say, okay, next meeting is in November. What are we going to do now? Of course, we are going to integrate the standard coming from other European countries. Thank you for us, for you, if you come and work with us. And we are going to see what is the next step, analyze gap and overlap points using the chair mapping. What are the gap and overlap? We don't need to create a new standard to overlap the overlap, of course. We need to create a standard to work on the gap. And what we need to define for EADAS electronic archiving services, you see that there is HC work, very useful, and we have to combine the HC works, which are very technical, with something at a higher level, because it's not only a technical problem, it's also an organizational problem, and that's why we have to work on that on the next meeting. Thank you very much.